Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, spawning in the top left hand corner as the Blue Terran, playing for Team Edification Empire of Ceonsamea. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner as the Red Protoss, playing for the Last Resort, we have Rotcod.
TVP, game number 1 of our second semi-final. For these players, a lot of it rests all on this matchup. Qualifying for the UK Pro League is going to be a big thing for any UK player, but especially for guys like these on teams that are doing fairly well, you know, not necessarily considered the very top teams, but definitely in there as hosting some of the best players. Not qualifying for the UK Pro League will be seen as a blow to them. These are guys who are going to have expected to get through this bracket. You know, they're not considering themselves, oh, I'm lucky to get here. They're saying, no, I expected to get here. I expect to be qualified. And one of Rotcod, Ceon, and Spider will not be qualified.
Indeed, like I will say, Edification Empire and TLR are actually surprisingly even in skill at the moment. They are both very good teams. In Team Takedown, which me and you run together, TLR did come out on... Yes, okay, I do quite a lot of the work and it's ridiculously frustrating, but to be fair, you've put up most of the prize money, so I think that makes it even.
I am your sugar daddy.
Exactly, but I will say, in that, the two teams, Edification Empire and TLR, did go up against each other, and in that, TLR did come out on top at a score of 3-2.
Still incredibly even though, and I have to say, there's, as great as Team Takedown is, and I'm not knocking the event we put on at all, there's a very big difference between something you're doing at your own leisure within a week and then being put in this high pressure situation here. And for me, this is really where you get to see the best of a player. This is where you get to see just how much they can hack it at that professional level. When the pressure's on, do you have what it takes to pull out a win in a best of 3 and qualify for one of the biggest online events the UK has hosted?
I couldn't agree more. This is going to be seriously tense. And the ideal situation, I feel, would obviously be for... well, actually, it doesn't really matter, because either way, if Rotcod can beat either Ceon or Spider, then he goes through. I want to see a representative from both these teams in the finals, because it will be amazing. So I'm going to be honest, I don't really mind who wins this, as long as Rotcod wins at least one of his next 2 games.
So we're seeing fairly standard builds so far from both players. Ceon going for the early Reapers into Expand, which is just a very, very nice opening build. Lets you scout, as he's doing, for these forward pylons, make sure there's nothing tricky headed his way, and then he should still be able to get in and get a decent scout off on his opponent's main base as well. So I do like that from Ceon. Going into Factory behind it, and likely adding a second gas soon so he can start to get out some decent upgrades for his bio.
Indeed. It's just a very normal build at the moment out of Ceon, whereas Rotcod already has his natural. He is building a gateway right now. It's just very standard strategies out of both players right now.
Yeah, and that's what you expect to see. Again, you know, I keep harping on this situation, but it is such a specific situation to be in, where an awful lot rests on how you perform in this best of 3. No one wants to do anything too ridiculous in game number 1. Game number 1, you get to measure yourself up against your opponent. See, okay, I'm going to play my best. He's probably going to play his best. We'll see who's actually better, and that lets you then decide what to do in games 2 and potentially 3. So the Reapers are going to get a scout from this main base, but nicely done by Rotcod. It does look like he is going to be able to pick them off. I don't foresee this Reaper escaping. Yeah, oh wow, actually catching it with probes rather than using the mothership core. But Ceon, very aware of the expansion, very aware of every single building up in that main. So both players going to be reasonably happy with how this has started. Meanwhile, first Widow Mine is out for Ceon, and Starport is finishing up. Could we be seeing that 2 Widow Mine for Marine drop?
Possibly, could be seeing that, and like as you said, both players could be very happy with this. They've both done a really good job scouting. That Reaper was able to see pretty much everything Rotcod was doing, and Rotcod did get a hallucinated Phoenix. Hallucinated Phoenix in, so he has seen pretty much everything that Ceon is doing. So both players very comfortable with what they see at the moment, and are going to be able to play fairly standard for now and just play a bit static. But as you said, it's quite likely we could be seeing the Widow Mine drop. But first Medivac is up and the second Widow Mine has not been made. So it could be a bit more likely that we will just see a pure Marine drop. But there are units heading out across the map.
Yep. 2 Widow Mines in that Medivac, 4 Marines in it as well. And with these Marines at the front, it looks like we could see that split push that so many Terrans are doing nowadays. You send a group of Marines into the front, and while your opponent is focused on that, you try and sneak those Widow Mines and Marines into the back of the main, drop them in that mineral line, and hope you can get some nice probe kills. I have actually seen Masters level and above Protoss players fall to just such an attack, so he's going to come in. Going in a little too soon with that Medivac though, which means the Stalkers in the main have seen it. However, that is a lot of Marines at the expansion. Nice sentries, going to catch 2 of them in exchange for just energy. And Ceon at this point has pulled back. Oh, okay, that Medivac is still there. Just making sure it hadn't been sniped, but that Medivac is still there, still available to go up into the main. But we do have the Photon Overcharge already going. We've got an Observer there and Stalkers. So just going to relay a Widow Mine at that third base instead. Going to block any Nexus from being made there. And, of course, snipe any probe that goes to make it. Going to do the same at the other third base. And just go in Marines only. Nice force field. Trapping those Marines in there with the Zealots. But a great pickup again by Ceon. And it looks like he just wants to keep this pressure going for as long as possible.
Indeed, he's going to keep this pressure going. In the meantime, he's just going to continue macro up. He's already halfway complete on his expansion. Colossus is already out, though. Photon Overcharge activated, killing off the final Marine, and the rest of them all loaded up and have to get out of there. Colossus Sentry easily going to be able to drive this back. Really nicely played by Rotcod. Really nice defense. There is no way Ceon is getting in there anytime soon. He does, however, already have that starport up with a reactor on it. So once he finishes producing the Medivacs he needs, he could immediately go into Vikings in order to counter that Colossus.
Yeah, Ceon again, just in a really nice position. His third command center already morphed into an orbital. He's got 5 barracks up now. He's got all the tech buildings he needs. His engineering base already researching +1 infantry armor as well. Already got +1 weapons. So just going to be very, very happy as a Terran to be in this position. He knows what tech his opponent's going for, having forced the Colossus out early, and having forced, of course, Rotcod to show his hand means he can prepare for that. Interestingly, no, at this point, extended thermal lance coming out, which suggests perhaps that he's not intending to overcommit to the Colossus, just get 3 out, and then switch straight into High Templar.
Indeed, this is a very usual strategy that we see nowadays, with players doing exactly what you said. And Rotcod has found out that there's at least 1 Widow Mine, so he needs to send his observer down there to deal with that as soon as possible. But we already see Thermalance is on the way, but it's still quite likely that Rotcod will change into Templar tech after he's finished with his Colossus production. I doubt he will just continue with Colossus permanently. He is now beginning to build a second observer. So no Templar archives as of yet, but he wants to make sure he can comfortably take a third base first.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to try and go High Templars on just 4 gases. That is a recipe for disaster. We do love our cliches. I must like as well, because he went so many sentries early on to defend against first those Reapers and then, of course, the Marine drop. So I really love how much he's using the hallucination ability right now to continually scout bases, to make sure he knows exactly what Ceonsamea is up to.
Indeed, he's keeping an eye everywhere. He has eyes in the sky, and those eyes in the sky are pretty much free right now. He's just doing a really good job keeping an eye on everything that's going on. And the thing is, if his opponent scouts him, he could even be using those hallucinations for those extra units to confuse the opponent into thinking he has way more than he does. But third base is now just building for Rotcod. Ceon has already had his for a while though, so a bit ahead in the supplies and is moving out, getting ready for a big push here, and he does have Vikings.
Yeah, and this is a really nice push timing because, as we pointed out, this is going to be before High Templars are ready. So those Vikings going to be increasingly effective. The Bio's still going to be able to do a lot. Also, he's going to hit just before 2-2 is done for Rotcod. So at this point, upgrades are even. That's a huge Colossus hit straight up, though. 4 Colossus tearing through this Bio army. The Vikings are not going to take them down quick enough. And Ceon has to get out of there because Rotcod, it looks like, was ready for this.
Indeed, there was nowhere near enough Vikings in that engagement to deal with the Colossus, which means the Stalkers were able to deal with it. The Colossus, though, taking a lot of damage right now, but 2 of them do still stand tall, and because Rotcod's third base has just finished up, he can now be moving into that High Templar tech, and is likely that he will be doing so. Right now, though, he is just rejuvenating his Colossus count and beginning his free upgrades. Could he not be doing Templar?
I almost wonder if he shouldn't do Templar. He didn't see many Vikings there. And after that, there's the possibility that Ceon, sometimes you get these players that go, okay, I've seen Colossus, he knows I've seen Colossus, he'll be switching to Templar. So sometimes it can be worth just getting up another small force of Colossus, maybe 4, maybe 5, and then adding Templars to it as well. Just in the hopes that your opponent isn't going to commit too much to Vikings, assuming that, of course, you're not going to commit to Colossus.
Indeed, this looks like exactly like you said what might be happening. Ghost Academy has just finished up. Mobius Reactor is on the way for those ghosts. So he's preparing for High Templar. Templar Archives is up, but he's still building Colossus. He's going for that first. He's getting charged as well so that eventually he can be making the switch into, if he wants to, Zealot Archon, if everything does go...
Oh, look at this, though.
Oh
Using that force of Stalkers out at the front. Great Blinks picking off a total of 3 medevacs there. Ceon now has this great big army with 1 medevac with it, 2 more coming to join it.
He was also able to kill off, I would like to point out, he was also able to kill off 2 Vikings as well. So once again, reducing the anti-air output, which means these Colossus are going to be so much more useful. And currently, Rotcod just using these High Templars for Archons.
Rotcod is in a fantastic position, I have to say. Just doing so well and keeping those upgrades coming. He's going to be at 3-3 before the infantry armor level 2 is finished for Ceon. So that's quite a large upgrade advantage to have, even for a Protoss. Meanwhile, of course, we have Ceon taking his 4th base, looking to go that route, continuing to macro up and perhaps try to overpower his opponent just in terms of sheer units.
Indeed, that might be able to work, but there are so many games we have seen where a Terran has gone for that strategy and then been obliterated by storms. Oh, and we do have a quick pause by Rotcod, but it's all about storms. And I would like to point out, Rotcod is saying he's getting weird lag. Rotcod has one of the oldest PCs I've ever seen. So that could be the reason for that one.
Rotcod is actually playing this on a Nokia N-Gage.
Oh dear, that's quite accurate actually. But yes, it's all going to be... If Ceon is going for that overwhelming with unit strategy, he needs to make sure he has the economy behind it to rebuild, because Rotcod's strategy at the moment seems to be, oh okay, you have units, I'm just going to make sure I have as much splash damage so I can kill as many of your units as possible. And it looks like the players are ready, so we are going to get back into this when Rotcod unpauses. Oh, I think Rotcod fixed Ceon has paused.
Rotcod remembers that he was the one who paused the game, and we are back into it. Now, again, good use of the Observer means Rotcod is more than aware of that 4th base, starting to push out, but a scan should suggest that Ceon is doing the same, and Rotcod is now aware of where the army is. These Zealots are going to charge in. The Archons already doing so much damage. Stalkers blinking forward, catching the ghost. Wonderful stuff. Now, the Vikings doing their work on those Colossus, but still 2 up at this point, and those 2 will be alive.
They are still alive, but the thing is they're on such low health and there's so few units to protect, to stop this bio army. The force fields really being the saving grace here, stopping those bio units getting it to those Archons yet. Medivacs tried to do the healing job, but as you said, we lost quite a few earlier. Rotcod moving round, trying to catch them out of position and move towards his reinforcing pylons. High Templars being warped in, getting some extra Archons. Only 2 Colossus, but he's definitely now switching into his Sentry, to his Zealot, High Templar and Archon tech. He now can do this. All the ghosts were killed off. There are no more in production. He's pushing forward. Vikings are going down. Colossus are still standing tall at the moment. There's not enough Vikings. Zealots easily pushing through. There's the Colossus doing the damage, and Rotcod is pushing it home right now. He's moving into the natural expansion. There is one missile turret to counter these Colossus, and that's not going to be enough. Though actually, this missile turret is actually going to kill off one Colossus, so there's a kill for that missile turret. This last Colossus, though, is still standing tall. It's going to focus down that missile turret, keep itself alive, and Rotcod is still pushing through. More units being produced for Ceo, trying to keep himself alive. Rotcod having to pull back into the natural expansion, needs to wait for some more reinforcements to arrive, which they are. There's still so many Archons left, though, doing ridiculous amounts of damage. The Colossus still just raining damage and death down to his opponent's Zealots, sort of just scattered around the place, being forgotten, but Stalker's blinking backwards, trying to get away, but the Colossus don't goes down. It's now Archon, the Immortal, and those Stalkers left. Couple sentries as well, blinking forward, trying to take out as much production, as many units as possible. The Immortal, though, doing huge amounts of damage, really living up to its name. The Immortal currently on 12 kills, the Archon on 14, with 1 hit point left. That Archon still managing to keep himself alive, and there's the GG from Ceonsamea, and Rotcod takes game number 1.